this morning. Unfortunately, we have had a huge thunderstorm last night and it seems to have caused a couple of technical problems. So we're busy trying to sort them out, so I'm really hoping we'll get on drive as soon as possible. So do bear with us and stay tuned, and hopefully we'll be back on air very, very shortly. But welcome on board this morning, and it is beautiful sunshine after quite a nasty storm last night. It was quite brutal. Excuse me. There was once or twice there was a bit of thunder overhead, and I must admit I was in bed and I hit the decks as well. So yeah, that's unfortunately what seems to have caused the technical problems this morning. But it's all looking good now, which I'm so thrilled about. So we'll see if we can head out on drive and see what we can find this morning. So welcome on board. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tara, and we have Brian on camera and of course the thumb. And we have the genius Pete back in final control, who managed to get us working online and working properly. So well done, Pete. Great. Can't wait to get out there, so let's get going. It'll be interesting to see if there was much damage last night. Oh, hello. You'll see something interesting there. Ooh. Looks like some leopard tracks. Heading that way. But where do you go after there? Over all the tracks here as well. Maybe we need to go back down that way. Let's just turn around quickly. But we went through just to check on the other mast, and there's some elephants over that side, so I'd like to see if we can catch up with them as well at some stage. Let's just see where these tracks go. And that is one of the nice things about having a storm. It kind of wipes the slate clean when it comes to the rain. So whatever track you have in the morning, you know it's fairly fresh, and this is right over the top of the elephant tracks. Just see where he goes. It's kind of veering off an angle, excuse me, heading down here. Yeah. Okay, well let's just try down here. Maybe we'll pick them up the other side then. I'm going to have a really good look here. Just in case anybody is actually sitting watching us. And there has been a lot of hyena activity. There's a lot of tracks this side, and there's been a lot of tracks that side, so they were very busy last night. Maybe we should just take a swing by Treehouse Dam. See if there's any spoor that's crossing the road. You will hear, if you're new to the drives, you will hear I will use spoor and tracks. They're interchangeable to me. They do mean the same thing. Spoor is more often used out here in South Africa. Just checking, there's a nice big sandy patch right next to us. So I'm just seeing if there's been any tracks here. Checking the marula trees, maybe there's somebody sitting up in those trees with a kill. Because leopards will take advantage of storms. We have seen when I was here last, Karula actually took out I think 4 impala in one night when it was a huge storm like that. That kind of behaviour is not normal, but let's say Karuna is quite a special cat. She's... there we go, yeah. We've got the leopard tracks heading down this way. Yeah. And they're mixed in with actually hyena tracks heading up that way. So there's been a lot of vehicle activity already up and down this road, so it looks like it wipes some of the information out. Unfortunately, they're not very clear for you to see on screen. I don't think it's going to come out too well. If I have chance, I'll stop and show you what a leopard spoor actually looks like. And if you are new to the drives and you'd like to ask a question, then all you need to do is send in your questions to questions@wildearth.tv, or you can send it through onto the Twitter account, and that's #SafariLive. Yeah, some of the information has been lost, unfortunately, but we'll keep driving down, we'll keep having a look here. Yeah, everyone's saying there's no tracks around, there's no tracks. I think everyone's over in Buffelshoek trying to relocate those lions last night. I think it was the Birmingham Pride, or Birmingham Coalition. Oh, the cat stayed on that side of the road, which suggests it had in mind to go this way, but it could have well have crossed the road. I didn't see any sign of that, but as I say, unfortunately there's a lot of vehicles driving over all the information. Good morning to Kathy from Tennessee. Welcome on board this morning. And Kathy just wanting to know what spoor is. And it's a track left in the sand or any substrate left by the animal. But actually, it doesn't have to be an animal. Anything can potentially leave a track. When you become a guide, you also do a tracking assessment. And the trainer will go along and put a circle around the track, and you have to go up and tell him what you think it is. And sometimes we'll try and catch it out, and even a bit of grass can make a track, and that can be one of your questions. And I remember having a large fruited bush willow seed as one of my questions. And that was quite an interesting track, and the wind had blown it. But it just teaches you to actually look at the bigger picture. I think it might be worth just going up here, just seeing if the cat hasn't crossed through this side, because I'm just thinking actually, when we were at the mast we did hear the elephant's trumpet. I'm wondering if it wasn't that cat. Actually, just while I'll stop here quickly and just show you what I'm looking at on the road, and just show you the difference with the leopard and the hyena. So there's a lot of hyena tracks. So this is the hyena that I've been seeing. It's got the two lobes and the half moon shaped toes with the claws. And an easy way to actually, if ever you do manage to get into the bush and you're looking at the tracks, an easy way to try and determine the difference between the hyenas and the leopards, if you imagine the toes and try and put them all into the back pad, they don't fit. You can see these toes are very big, and if you try and take all four of those and put them into this pad, it's not going to work. But if you take, for the leopard, we've got the leopard here, we've got the three lobes in the back pad, and the toes are nice and oval, but if you can imagine taking all four toes, you can actually fit them quite nicely in the back pad. So this is leopard, this is lion. Lions, the toes tend to be much further away from the pad, and the actual spoor itself, or track itself, is much bigger. There can be a bit of confusion when you've got a very large leopard. It could possibly be a juvenile lion, so you can get a little bit of confusion there. But generally speaking, sorry, no, this is also leopard. I'm thinking that doesn't look quite right, because the toes are actually quite close to the pad here. But here's the line here, you can see the toes are actually quite far away from the pad. So this is actually a male leopard, a female leopard. Females tend to be smaller than males, and whether it's true or not, I still am working that one out, but with males you're supposed to be able to have a nice neat circle in the side of the lobe, and it's the actual track itself should follow that circle as it's going up towards the top of the pad, whereas the female, the lobe is too small to be able to fit a nice big circle in, so it still comes out before it goes up. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. Some people that I've asked say, yeah, that's true, and some people say, nah, they've never seen that. I say with the lions, it looks like a slightly messier track, so the toe is much further away from the pad. So that's what I'm looking at. But unfortunately, you don't always see it clearly. You might get a couple of toes, depending on the substrate or how the cat's been walking. But at least we have the sun out today, so first thing in the morning and last thing in the afternoon is the best time to see tracks, because of all the shadows that are cast in there. Good morning, go ahead. I'm just heading up Rebecca's Road. I've just picked up some on Philemon's cut line, Fambering south, but it may have jiggered across to Rebecca's. Got buffalo going in that direction. One set of tracks, that might have been the old boy from yesterday, who had his own private pool at the dip on Philemon's dip. Although it's going to be difficult to pick any tracks up here, unfortunately. For big marula trees, which is the perfect place to hide a carcass. Just taking a fairly slow drive around here and just seeing, because we've probably lost those tracks roughly about here, on the opposite side of this drainage line. Otherwise I might just turn around and just see if I can't pick anything else up as we go down Weaver's Nest. And just see if anyone hasn't driven up there yet. It did look like the leopard was over the top of the hyena tracks, but it's still, there wasn't a lot of detail to it, so I don't think they were fresh. But they were certainly from the last few hours. Yeah, I'm not picking anything up this side. I might just turn around and just try Weavers. Morning, woodland kingfisher. Where are you? There you are, there you are. Oh, nice. Right out in the sun. Oh, sorry, he's in the tree right at the back, yeah. Quite a number calling back to it. Beautiful. I'm just taking the opportunity to listen out for any potential alarm calls. Any branches breaking that might suggest those elephants are around here. But just the dawn chorus at the moment. Good morning to you, Linda, in California. Welcome on board this morning. And Linda was asking, are leopards more successful when they hunt when there's a storm, because the animals are more distracted? Seems to be, and I think the rain also helps to dampen the scent, so they aren't able to pick up scent very easily. The thunder, and obviously the lightning is going to be a little bit confusing as well, but the thunder obviously helps to mask the sounds. But even when there's no storm, they seem to take advantage when it's raining. Okay, I'm going to turn around. I was hoping maybe those elephants were going to be around here, but it looks like they may have moved off that way. But I think these cat tracks are fresh enough for us to try and follow it. Let's try and head down Weavers. I can't pick any more tracks up. I was going to say on Gonzo's then. That's what we say on the radio. Gonzo's tracks or spoor. But yeah, so as I say, the rain does help to mask the scent of the cat. And obviously those clouds would have covered the full moon last night, so making it slightly easier for the cats to hunt again. Also, just having another angle at some of these trees can actually help, because sometimes leopards can just sit in the crook of a tree, and if you look at it one way you can't see it, and when you look at it another you can. So it is worth just heading down the road again. Especially this area. I know Karula used to love this area. The tracks did look a little bit larger than Karula's, but it might be one of the boys. Come on, squirrels. Help us out. Squirrels are pretty good at picking up leopard. I have found leopard because the squirrels are uncool. Although they do tend to chat about quite a lot of things, so you can never completely trust them. There's a couple of animals I will trust over everything else, and giraffes are one of them. If you've got giraffes looking in one spot, there is something there. There is potentially a cat, leopard or lion. So we'll have a look over there. It's a little bit pale. But yeah, giraffes, apart from the cats, nothing else really bothers them. But even cheetah don't seem to bother them too much. I've actually seen them stand a few meters away from cheetah, watching them going, "What are you then?" It would be interesting to hear if anyone has seen giraffes react to cheetah, where they've had a run-in with leopards before, because I think that does also have an impact on how animals react to the predators. If they've had any problems with those predators, they'll remember it and they'll react to it. no baboons in my old reserve. They actually reacted to the cheetah, and I did wonder if it's because they couldn't tell the difference between cheetah and leopard from a distance. But welcome on board to you, Hal. Good morning to you. Great to hear you're on board this morning. And Hal wants to know, is there any variation in eye colour in leopards, or are they all the same colour? And there is variation. Sometimes you do get blue-eyed leopards, especially when they're young. They are blue for about a week, and then they turn colour to that beautiful yellow. But sometimes they don't lose that, and Vula, the big male, the dominant male in this area, is one of those cats that didn't lose his pale eyes. Okay, we've got the hyenas going that way still. But do we have the leopard? Somebody's there. It's not very clear. And then there's another male that apparently, I think he's still around by all accounts, and he just came in just as we left. Beautiful orange-eyed male. I think that was actually his name. I think it was Lumella. And that's how you say it, which meant orange, because he had these beautiful, stunning orange eyes, and almost like he had a bit of eyeliner or something. He slightly squashed at the sides. Beautiful looking cat. So some variation. Just have a look for me on that side. Is there anything there? I see any cat tracks there. Hyena's still going that way. That's what I must be seeing now then. So I wonder if that cat isn't in the block still. Yeah. Okay, well the last road to check is a little bit further up Philemon's cut line. I'm not seeing too much here, apart from the hyenas going that way. So let's just try that, and then maybe we just carry on up Rebecca's road again. Just see, but it just looked like the cat was just walking. It didn't look like it was walking with a purpose. Just normal speed. I was seeing quite a slow speed, and you can tell that by the placement of the feet. So normal speed, you're looking for, especially the leopard, the front foot gets almost obliterated by the back foot, so where the front foot goes, the back foot goes over the top. If it's a very slow speed, then you've got the front foot and the back foot's just behind it, so that's a very slow walk. And if you've got quite a fast pace, the back foot actually comes over the top of the front foot, so you can kind of tell the pace, and that can give you a little bit more of an insight into what the cat was maybe thinking or trying to do. So if it's a quicker pace, then maybe something caught its attention and it's wanting to get there fast. If it's just sauntering along the road, just checking stuff out, then you tend to get a slower pace. I'm hoping maybe just driving around this area, we might just get lucky. Stations number 1 Conzo's from Ingwe, just on Philemon's Dip, down going south. Yeah, I've checked along Weaver's Nest, Lutu. I'm just going to check Philemon's cut line at Lutu so far on Rebecca's as well. Oh. No, it wasn't you guys that were calling. Thought I heard a squirrel. No. That's another thing, if an animal gives an alarm call, if they're very insistent, so if it's alarm, 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 it means that it's right here. It's a problem, it's here, people, keep looking out. If you get the alarm call and it's kind of alarm, and maybe a bit of a break and then an alarm, then it means that there is something here, but it's over there, and yeah, I'm concerned, but it's not going to come anywhere near me at this stage. So even just the rapidness of the alarm calls can help determine how close it is. So I thought I heard a squirrel here, but nothing else to follow it up. So if it was, danger's past. Let's just go a little bit further along, see if we can't pick up any more tracks. I think there might have been another vehicle driving this road. But if it was heading south, unless something caught his attention, I would have been very surprised for it to turn so rapidly and go up that way thinking about it. Maybe it might be worth us just heading down towards Treehouse Down. Because it could be that it has crossed the road and the tracks just have been obliterated. Let's see. I'm going to track to this side again. But actually here, it doesn't look like much of the rain has fallen. We must have got it mostly that side. My track that I drew yesterday is still there. It sounds like the north definitely got a lot of rain. Lots of buffalo movement. Okay. There was a little two track just going into that drainage line. Oh, did you think you saw something?
I think it was just the back of the it's Impala.
Okay, I cannot see the Impala. You really have good bush eyes, although you do have that height. I'm still not seeing them, wow. There he is. Okay. Wow, excellent spot. Almost. And it's worth noting where these impala are, because if a cat is in the area and it pops out and they see it, knowing roughly where the impala are helps you to get to the area a little bit quicker. But you can see these rams aren't too phased about anything. It looks like there's just a small group of them, so they are going to be on fairly high alert because there's only 3 of them to keep a lookout. And the grey go-away bird calling at us. Oh! Some beautiful old males here. Huge horns. Some beautiful old males here. Huge horns. So either cat didn't pass this way, or it's still in hiding and they haven't picked it up yet. Because that's something to always remember. A lot of people say, oh, there's a big herd here. Oh, okay, there's no cats here. Remember, if the cats were seen all the time, they would never eat. You see them just having a look around every so often. Making sure nothing's going to jump out at them. And the sad thing for impala is pretty much anything and everything will eat impala at some stage of their life. When they babies, even eagles, black eagles where I used to work would, they're now called rose eagles, they would actually hunt the baby impala out on the open plains. Snakes, and even female impala. I've heard of pythons actually still consuming female impala, fully grown female impala. Jackal have been known to take down impala. Generally speaking, jackal work as a family, but I have known jackal on occasion by themselves to take down impala. And then obviously the cheetah and the leopard. Even lion, it's a snack for a lion, that if lion's hungry enough, they'll go after impala. Spotted hyenas. So really, it's no wonder there's quite a lot of impala in the area. Otherwise they'd just be wiped out. And that's why you do tend to see these big herds, safety in numbers as much as possible. Oh, nice big stretch there. Okay, well, let's get back to our search for this spotted cat. I feel we've got to be close. It's got to be around here somewhere. I'm going to just check in that drainage line just to see if it isn't lying up in the drainage line in a tree somewhere. I did see there was a little 2-track going in there. And that's just south of where we lost the track, so it could be possible. And if we don't have any luck, then maybe, yeah, we'll take a turn maybe down by Treehouse Dam and then head up Rebecca's Road. I think that will be the plan. See if we can find those elephants. As I say, it could just be that I just didn't see where the cat crossed, so that's why I'm trying to do a bigger circuit on a larger scale now. And that's one of the rules of tracking. So you have your track and you follow your trail, and you can't find the next track, you start looking on a larger circuit until you try and pick it up. And that's just general rules of tracking. And that's what we're going to do. Oh, that'd be a nice tamborty tree for a leopard to be sitting in. That tall one there at the back. There's a few branches that could quite nicely hide a carcass. I don't see any movement there. It's amazing, this really does seem to be the cut-off. There's a few raindrops there, there was certainly some rain on Philemon's dip there, but there doesn't seem to have been much this side at all. Going on this little tube track and just see if there is any movement down in the drainage line here. Well, and welcome on board if you've just joined us, wondering what on earth we're doing. We did have some tracks of a leopard on that side of this drainage line, which unfortunately disappeared. So what I'm trying to do is just widen the search a little bit and see if we can find this cat if he has come through this drainage line. It'd be nice to catch up with him. Just having a good look in these big trees for any signs of kills. So we did have a huge thunderstorm last night, which the cats may have used to their advantage. Perfect leopard habitat here. just see this 2-track just disappearing around the corner here, so we'll just follow it as far as we can. That could be the end of the line. I think it is. It was quite a nice 2-track. No vultures to point the way today. Hi Lisa, welcome on board from Pennsylvania this morning. Good to have you with us. And Lisa was asking about the red leopard. Have I had any interactions with the red leopard? And she's actually been talking to the guy who collared the leopard in the same area that I'm operating in. It was actually caught probably about a 30-minute drive from where I am, and it was a male red leopard or strawberry leopard. It goes by a number of different names. White leopard, which is not technically right. They're very pale in colour, and the spots are brown, very pale rather than black. And he said it was actually a male, and probably it was about, I think it was caught about 3 weeks ago now, 2 or 3 weeks ago. What's causing that? There's a lot of movement here. Maybe someone was just sitting in here and flew off. But in September, I actually had, I think it was over 2 days, I had 3 pictures of a strawberry leopard on my camera traps. And there was one where it was actually being followed by my dominant male. He's called Big D, which makes me think this particular individual was actually a female. Something is telling me to go south. So maybe we should go south. And I've just heard as well that there was another sighting, possibly of the same individual. I think it was on the 27th of January. And that camera trap actually caught it during the day, which was very exciting. And you can really see those pale spots. But what causes it is the same thing as a black leopard. Black leopards, it's just the reverse. There's too much pigmentation rather than a lack of. So if you actually saw a black leopard in the sun, you'd actually see the spots as well. So it's just the yellow part of the coat just has a lot more pigmentation. And it's a genetic mutation, or it would have been a genetic mutation at some stage, but it's caused by a recessive gene. And all that means is that the mother and the father, they have to have that particular gene in order to have black or strawberry offspring. And the mother and the father don't necessarily show this gene, so they can still be yellow with the black spots. But if they're carriers and they come together, then they can create this unusual looking animal. And as I say, in the area that I'm studying the leopards, we do get black leopards, but recently it seems to be the strawberry leopards that are coming through. And we used to get a peek. We were actually one of the 2 top places for black leopard sightings across the continent. So Kenya, Tanzania are one of the other places where they do get a lot of black leopard sightings centred around one area, and Leidenburg is the other, which is quite interesting. And we also get black serval and other unusual coloured animals that side as well. So something's going on with the genetics that side. But we seem to get a peak in these sightings every year and a half, which tends to be when the young are actually dispersing. And I'm wondering if it happened this time, because it was about a year and a half. And I was saying we were about due to see a black leopard, and the strawberry leopards came along. So I wonder if it was that gene that came out instead this time, which is very interesting. But to have, I think, 2 individuals in that area. Sad thing is there has been 2 other individuals known, but they were both run over, and that's how they found them. Also, the same area where the leopard was actually caught and collared, and it's the first time it's ever been collared. So it's going to be very interesting to see what comes out of that in terms of where it ranges and what it gets up to. But it is possible that the one that I've caught on camera could be the part of the same litter as the male that got collared. Either that, or it was the male and Big D was just following it, which is unusual behaviour in itself. You shouldn't tend to get a dominant male following a younger male. But if he's not spraying and marking territory, then maybe he was showing submission and Big D was allowing that. But that's what I love about leopards. They're just keeping us guessing constantly. It's just fantastic. And incidentally, a black leopard can be called a panther, and a black jaguar also. Same thing. Too much pigmentation. Is that how you know it again? Just down there. But yeah, you can get black jaguars in South America as well. But I'm not sure if you can get strawberry. I would have thought you could. I don't know if it's ever been on record. It's the same thing that causes white tigers and white lions. They lack pigmentation, although they're not albino. That's a bit of a misconception. Albino, there's no pigmentation at all. They don't have the pink eyes and the pink nose. They do, especially with the tigers, they do still have those white, the brown stripes. But even the lions, they still have a bit of brown on their ears. They have blue eyes rather than eyes, and they have brown on the tip of their tail as well. Quite an interesting story about the white lion, actually. That hadn't been seen. It's a complete myth in modern human times, and it was, I think it was around the 1960s, the first white lion was actually found in the wild, and that was in the Timbavati. And what was quite incredible was there is an old Zulu called Mutwa, and he actually published a book. And he actually predicted the coming of lion. And apparently he predicted it as accurately as about, I think he was 43 meters out or something ridiculous like that. I mean, that's pretty amazing. But apparently you can actually read his book. I think he has published it, Credo Mutwa. And I think he is still alive today. Yeah, predicted the coming of the white lion. And I think there are still white lions in the Temple of Ata today. I think there was recently some stories that came out of there, but my memory's a little bit sketchy about that. Just broadening that circle again, just seeing if there's any tracks this side. Again, it doesn't look like there was much rain here. It was amazing. I think that storm was just centered over us. And for those of you who went on board yesterday, we actually had caracal tracks just the other side of this dam here. That would be fantastic to see the caracal. Unfortunately, with such big predators in the area, you don't tend to see these smaller carnivores very often. They tend to go to ground quite a bit, so to pick up the tracks yesterday was just very exciting. They look like the leopard track that I showed you earlier, just on a small scale. You're looking something about that sort of size, whereas the leopard you're looking about this sort of size. And lion, that sort of size. Saw movement in here. I saw a leg. I'm sure I saw a leg. That on my brain is still frazzled from yesterday. No, come on, I saw something. The bush playing tricks on me. I take it you didn't see anything.
Nope. I was going to ask you, did you see a leg of a bird, or what kind of leg did you see?
It looked like the leg of an animal, just sort of putting its leg out. But maybe it wasn't. I'm surprised I haven't seen any leopards yet. I'm usually good at spotting leopard rocks and leopard twigs and sticks. That's not funny. It must have been the angle I saw something then. So sure there was something there. Oh, I can hear a Diedrich's cuckoo. It actually says his name is very helpful. Diedrichs. Diedrichs. See if I can't. He was over here somewhere. I think he was just that little bit too far away for you guys to hear, but I'll see if I can stop in a nice area for you. It's amazing how everything just changes daily. We had the hippos, not the hippos, the buffaloes were here, the weavers were chirping yesterday, there was a hive of activity in this. Fairly quiet this morning. Blacksmith lapwings were here. There we go, you might be able to hear him from here. There he is! You don't get to see him very often. Right on top of the tree there. There he is. Hello, Diedrich's cuckoo. Diedrichs. Very, very cool. It's got this beautiful metallic plumage, metallic green. And that just comes about by the feathers have keratin in the actual feather itself, and that helps to give the feather a structure. It helps to strengthen it, but it also can scatter the light, and when you have the metallic birds, like the Diedrich's cuckoo, it's actually just layers of keratin within the feathers at a certain angle, and it gives off this metallic green. Unfortunately, we're not seeing it too clearly. But if I go any further down, we'll lose him. And as the name suggests, they do parasitize other birds. So all that means is when they mate, the female will go and find a nest to lay her egg in a different bird's nest. They don't make their own nest. And the host bird where she lays her egg will actually be reared by that bird. It's quite amazing to see. Then the cuckoo chicks are usually very big, and you get some small birds like the weavers actually feeding the cuckoo chicks, and the cuckoo chicks are about 3 times larger than the weaver. But that is one of the birds that does actually parasitize, or it does parasitize. Different cuckoos will go for different species, and they'll have different ways of dealing with things. So when an egg gets laid in the nest, the chick actually might hatch out first, and it might actually squash the other chicks when they hatch out because they're already growing and they're already a lot bigger. When the chick hatches out, it might actually push the egg out of the nest, so the chicks can't actually hatch at all. Or it might not do anything, it might actually be reared with the chicks itself. So there's 3 different things that the cuckoo chick will actually do. Now I wonder if those weavers aren't going up there just to try and stop the Diedrich's cuckoo from sneaking into their nests. Keeping an eye on it. And I've often wondered how the cuckoos do get into the nests of the birds, because some of these nests are going to be very heavily guarded, And on the reserve I was working at, the owner told me he actually saw a pair of Deirdre's cuckoo, and he said that one of the cuckoos, obviously the male, was distracting the weavers, and the female flew in very low across the water and flew into the nest while the weavers were distracted, and apparently that's how they do it. Quite amazing. So that could be what's happening here. Maybe that's why he's out in the open. I'm not seeing any movement from a female coming in from anywhere. He's gone very quiet now though. Maybe he is playing a distracting role. Nature is amazing, hey? Always finds a way. I'll keep my eyes peeled anyway, just in case the female is going to try that. We're going to take, I think, Shabam Road towards Filman's Cut Line, and maybe try our look around Rebecca's Road. Quiet now. Wow, lots of flies this morning. This is where we had the caracal tracks, heading that way. But nothing today. Again, the caracal are fairly nocturnal, but I have seen them out during the day. And they're excellent at catching birds. They launch themselves, as the birds are actually taking off, they'll launch themselves a couple of meters into the air to catch them. Serval also capable of doing that, but they tend to focus more on the rodents. Servals look like baby cheetah with big ears. Lovely to see one. people have actually been wondering if we managed to find a name for the hyena. There are a few contenders, but I think if anybody wants to send in any more names, then I'm sure we can pick one today. There's been a few suggestions so far. Heidi, because apparently the youngster was hiding so much. So that was why that one got put through. And I think there was Theodora, Dora the Explorer, because she was exploring her surroundings so much. So I'm fairly certain, I'm 99% sure it's a female, just because of the boisterousness and the fact that it's on its own. Okay, I'm just going to check this pan out, because remember, this used to be a favourite for the old leopard Mafufinian, the grandfather of some of Karula's cubs. I suppose it would be all of her cubs, because it was thought that Mafufinian was actually Karula's father. It was also possible that he was the father of her first litter. Which would be slightly unusual, but not unheard of. So, babblers, what have you got to speak about? There they go, arrow mark babblers. Let's see if we can get a view of them for you. They're not going to play ball. But if I switch off at least you might be able to hear them. That's where they get the name from, babblers, because they do babble, 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 babble. A bit like me, actually. They're in here somewhere. Have you got some? Ah, there they go. They've gone there. I think if I pull forward, would you see the kudu a little bit better? Oh, well done. Sure. You can see how well those white stripes actually help to break out the outline of the body. You can barely make it out. So yeah, I'm a little bit too low. I've got a baby silver cluster leaf in front of me. And when they freeze like that as well, the predator's going to have a very difficult time of trying to locate where the animal is. And it'll stay like that until the predator gets very close, and they actually have what's called a startle response, or they create a startle response. So as the predator gets closer and closer and closer, and they'll wait until that last second, and they'll suddenly move and run off, and it's that startle of the predator, like, oh, what's just happened? That could be the split second they need, that could be the difference between life and death. I wonder if we won't be able to see it a little bit better. What do you think? See if we can go a little bit further forward. Oh, the bush fax machine's going well this morning. Okay, I can see legs. Go a bit further forward, so she's just through that opening for you. Still not the best view in the world of a kudu. The bushfax machine's known as the rattling cisticola. I wonder if I go a little bit further forward, it might be blocked by other trees. But I'll just try. Ah, there's another one here. Just through those two trees there. Just saw her ears move. Yeah, between those two trees that you've got on your screen there. So maybe if I pull forward, you might be able to see her a bit better. Okay, I can see her clearly. Let me just get further forward. We should get to see her clearly. There you go. Can you see her there? Yeah, straight through there. There we go. Yeah. Thanks, lady. I think she just shook her head. She's looking at something quite intently. She's got those huge satellite dishes on the front, keeping a listen out for any potential threat in the bush. Because remember, these are bush antelopes, they will stay in the thick of the bush. And sometimes it'll be very difficult to see, even though they have very good eyesight. Just the pure fact that there's so much bush around. But you can see she's relaxed, she's chewing the cud. So it's just more just keeping a lookout for potential danger. Yep, hello. There's another theory as well why the ears are so big. It could be the same as an elephant ear. Help to keep them cool. They'll have a lot of blood vessels in those ears. It just increases the surface area of the animal, and that just allows a lot more heat to evaporate and hopefully keeps them slightly cooler. It's a good possibility. There you go, you can hear the rattling cisticola really well now. Or cisticola, depending on tomato. Oh, Nala was the other option as well. And Sabrina. So yeah, I thought there was a couple of other suggestions there, so... Oh, Purina as well, so we had Sabrina, Purina, Nala, Dora, and I think there was Heidi as well. Maybe someone can look up, see if they can find the African name for Heidi. That'd be quite interesting to see what that is. See if I can maybe ask one of the guides later and see what that comes out as. Heidi. And they're probably looking for seed pods on the ground there. They are browsers, they don't tend to eat grass. So it'll probably be the fallen seed pods or fruits. I think it looks like they're just underneath a marilla tree at the moment, so it's most likely the fruits they're going for. Alrighty, well let's carry on. Still no more sign of any more leopard tracks. As I say, it could well be that that leopard is still in the block somewhere. So if we keep doing a few drive-bys, maybe we'll be lucky in seeing it pop out. Ooh, just in the tree here. I heard him this morning. And maybe you guys can ID this bird. We've got a nice, beautiful shot of him. Looks like someone attacked him with a paintbrush. And his call actually sounds very similar to, if you can imagine a bicycle wheel spinning, if you had a bicycle upside down, the bicycle wheel spinning, and you put a stick in the spokes, it sounds very similar to that. And what's really interesting is you can tell if they've mated or not, because if it goes on and on and on and on, they're looking for a mate. As soon as it gets short, you know they've mated. I've actually been a witness to that, and I thought, nah, that can't be true, that's just ridiculous. And I watched this particular bird calling, and I saw them mating, and I literally straight after saw them calling again, and it was very short, that call, and I thought, no way, that's actually true. So if you want to send your answers through, what is that bird that we've just seen? Questions at WildEarth.tv or Twitter, you can send them through there as well. Hashtag Safari Live with your answers. So I did hear him yesterday. Very quiet today. Actually see how much you guys have been listening to the birds. Maybe we'll do a couple of bird calls and see if you guys can get the bird call. Yeah, well, we've had a scrub hare run along here. But not much else. Impala, more male impala there. Ooh, one out in the open in the sun. Actually, if I move forward, he's going to be nice to frame there. Careful, why are you moving? This might be the 3 boys we saw earlier, actually. Still no alarm call from them, so nobody came this way. We've got our little sentinels out, we're posted all over the place. You are beautiful. Jennifer? My, good to hear you on board. So it sounds like Jennifer and Mike Moss who's on board. Great to hear from you guys. And apparently a little bit of a... Laura as well. Apparently a little bit of a tricky one as well. Maybe it just didn't stick around long enough for you guys to ID it. But it was the crested barbet. The crested barbet. This beautiful ram looks unimpressed. But well done to you guys for getting the crested barbet. I'm going to see if I can show you a picture for those of you who may have missed it. So it was a little bit dark, maybe it was a little bit cruel. But let's say it's quite a brightly coloured bird. Here he is here. So if you missed it, he's actually got quite a beautiful yellow breast and red. And I say it does look like he's been attacked by a paintbrush. So that is the crested barbet. We may also get the black-collared barbet as well. Roughly about the same sort of size. Quite a big bird. But it's this beautiful red head that gives them away, and this big black bill, and obviously where they get the name from, the black collar. So the barbets, you can see the bills are very heavy, so they eat fruit and seeds. So obviously they have quite a lot of power in those bills to crack the seeds. Okay, let's try Rebecca's Road, see if we have any luck, and maybe see if those elephants are out and about there. We'll probably try Zoe's and then come back down the western side of Quarantine. But I haven't given up on that leopard just yet. And then we might end up at the hyena den and just see what's going on there. And there is another hyena den apparently that is active down on the southern side at Cheetah Cut Line. Maybe we can go and check that out this afternoon. Unless we have time today. I'm losing so much time in the bush at the moment. Keeps going so quickly. Time flies when you're having fun, hey? Okay, so it doesn't look like we've had any tracks over ours recently. So incidentally, Firi is actually another name for hyena in one of the African languages. And for those of you who don't know, South Africa actually has 11 official languages. and some of the words that you hear us using on the radio is Shangaan, and that would be the local culture in this area. Sepedi is where I operate, so that's heading closer to the centre of South Africa. When you have the, I can never do the click. Can you say the horses? Is that right? I can never do the click properly. But they usually on the southern, well, they would be found on the southern coast of South Africa, and the Zulus to the east, the very famous Zulus. So you do have a number of official languages. And some of the words are interchangeable. Venda was one they're found quite far north in South Africa, and a colleague of mine was actually Venda, well, two of them, and they were saying it's quite an older language. They were saying that they understand a lot of the other languages, like the Shangaan and the Zulu and the Sepedi, but the people that speak those languages find it very difficult to understand Venda because it is one of the older languages, which I found very interesting. So if you're listening out on the radio, then Ingwe means leopard, and Ndlovu is elephant, and that's a fairly widespread name for the elephant, Ndlovu. And then lions have a number of names. Tau, I think, is Zulu, Tau for lion, and Gala, and Engonyama. I think Engonyama is Zulu, sorry. Tau, just trying to remember then, maybe whose Tau is. I'll have to have a look again. But we're using Gala here. And then you've got Inyati and Inyari, meaning buffalo. Skankan is cheetah. And some people often ask why we use those names rather than saying leopard or lion on the radio. And it's because it's such a large area, and obviously the radios do cover quite a large area. It's to avoid disappointment for the guests, because if obviously you get to see a bit of the behind the scenes when it comes to guiding as well, because obviously we do share quite a lot of information with you. But you'll hear me talk about like the Birmingham Coalition, and it was quite far north, and we were obviously not able to get there. But obviously when you're a guest and you're staying here, obviously we want to see those lions, but when you're actually staying here, you think, why can't we go and see those lions? And it could be that either they're not able to drive on that area, or it's just too far and it's not possible to actually get to them. And as people go on safari more and more, I suppose that obviously they've had maybe the opportunity to see those animals, and they start to understand that sometimes it's not possible to always see them. So I think that's when they get to realise what the names are as well. They quite often ask, so what does it all mean? And a lot of you will remember our old vehicle, Jigger. And when you say to jigger, it means change direction, which is what Jigger was very, very good at. You could get Jigger in anywhere. It was amazing where that little vehicle could go. It was a short wheelbase Land Rover. But I tell you something, Wendy is doing us proud. I'm very impressed with what Wendy's capable of. She's lovely to drive, and I'm sure you guys who remember the Gunda which means tractor. I'm sure you guys will remember that unmistakable sound of the Gunda. So Wendy's much quieter because she's a petrol engine rather than a diesel. But Gunda was very aptly named as well. The Gunda. As we're here, I'm just wondering, maybe it's worth us checking on this hyena den. I don't know if it's been checked on recently. Do you know if Mark's checked on it at all? No. Well, maybe let's just have a quick look and then we'll head up Zoe's road. Slightly more open habitat would be a more normal place to try and look for cheetah. Let's say we don't tend to get the cheetah coming through here too often, but there has been once or twice we've had cheetah. But you never know, we might be lucky, and this is the beauty of the sands. Anything goes. Anything can happen. I remember a couple of years, well, I'll say a couple of years. Last time we were here, there was a black rhino that came in from the western side, and that caused such a stir. Everyone was scrambling to try and see it because you don't tend to see the black rhino very often, because it tends to prefer the much thicker, denser habitat, thick 1040 tree, and so you don't tend to see it, but he popped out to say hello. Unfortunately, he was just a little bit too quick for us. Wow, this is overgrown. Definitely not been visited recently. Checking on these hyena dens. Just to see what's going on. So I think our mother is definitely part of the family who operates in this area. I think it is just the one family here. This, as I'm sure a lot of you will remember, is where we first saw Teddy. Wonder how he's doing. Sadly, we probably won't be able to recognise him now, because I think I don't think he had his spots when we left, so he was still very young. Remember, these hyena dens can also be used by leopard as well. And I think this is where Shavinzi and Shivambalana were first seen by Lex Hess. I think it was this den that she was found at. And they were very small. But wow, this is so overgrown now. Wow, okay, nobody is definitely home. That was the entrance that Teddy used to use. And hyena babies tend to destroy the vegetation around the den, so I think it's safe to say there's no hyenas using this den, but you never know, somebody else might be. Maybe even warthogs, which I know are Brian's favourites. They definitely have a character, sure. I think that character Disney sort of incorporated very well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Pumbaa is the ultimate warthog. And this was the other side as well that they used to use. That's also fairly overgrown as well. Wow, I can't even make out where the hole is there. Sure. That is amazing. Okay, so this one's not being used. This tree is okay. It doesn't have thorns. In fact, let me just see if we can bring a bit of look. Seems I've just been talking about a few of the cultures here in South Africa. So where I used to work in the Waterberg, and where I am now, which is not too far, I said before is where the Sepedi people would come from. And this tree is a weeping wattle, and it's very soft. It doesn't have any thorns, but it does look a little bit like an acacia. So the weeping wattle, some guides will tell you, could be used as a bush toilet paper, although for me there's actually a better tree, which is a velvet bush willow. That's the five-star toilet paper. This is 1-star because of all these little pieces. But if you take 3 branches, 3 leaves from the weeping wattle and tie a knot in them, according to Sepedi tradition, this will keep you safe on a journey. And they would put it in the pocket, and as they're travelling, it would keep them safe. So I'm going to see if we can bring some look to the drive. Now, what was interesting, some of you might remember Patrick, who also used to present for WildEarth. And Patrick, being a Shangaan, I was talking about this, and he was actually quite interested, because he said, well, in our culture, in the Shangaan culture, he was saying they would actually use a stick from the weeping wattle, so it would still be the same tree, but rather than use the leaf, it would be the stick, which was quite interesting. So I'll keep that with us. So it's to keep you safe on your journey and bring you luck. Okay, so we're going to go back up Zoe's Road, see if those elephants went that way. I didn't see any tracks, but you never know. And then we'll go down the western side of Quarantine and maybe just see if we can end up at the hyena den. Ooh, got tracks here. Are they still hyena? Ooh. Ooh. Heading that way? Awesome. Cat tracks. Very cool. I like the sound of that. Still there? Cool. Nobody sitting up there in the torchwood, no. Yeah, just the hyenas. Stations more Ingwe and Konzo Fambring north on Rebecca's towards Zoe's. Anything there? Okay, then I'll just jump out and have a quick look. Eddie's went this way, maybe we go this way. Okay, but again, with the tracks being on your side, I didn't have anything when we went round the corner, which suggests it was veering off that way. Because cats are very similar to humans in the sense they won't waste their energy walking all the way around when they can cut off a corner. And if you think about the way you walk, if there's a shortcut, if you're going to go around the corner, you're not going to go on the outside, you're going to go on the inside of the corner. So if we were going to walk this way, we'd go almost cutting through here, but if we're going to stick on the road, we'd go on the inside. And the cats are exactly the same. So if they think, right, I'm going to go over there, they would obviously not think about where they're walking, but their behaviour means that if they're on this side of the road, they will actually cross over to this side of the road and carry on. But Brian was picking up the leopard tracks that side, and when I moved over just check on the corners where I had the hyenas, we didn't have the leopard track, which tends to suggest maybe it was going to veer off this way. So maybe it cut off before. So maybe let's just have a quick look down towards Impala Plains. Our elephants have actually crossed that way as well, so maybe we'll see if we have any luck. Looks like there may have been a civet out and about last night, just on the junction here as well. Just 1 or 2 tracks. So maybe something did catch its attention if it's the same cat. And it did do like a 180-degree turn on itself. Lilac-breasted roller, nice, just in front of us. Just caught something in the grass, or was trying to catch something in the grass. Ah, I stand corrected, it was a European roller and he did catch something. European rollers are much bluer than the lilac-breasted cousins. Making a short meal of that grasshopper he caught. Nice to see. I was actually wondering about the European rollers, if they were still around. They are slightly bigger in size compared to the lilac-breasted cousins. See if we can get a little bit closer. Looks fairly settled. Let me just see what he reacts, how he reacts if I turn on the vehicle. Yeah. Okay, maybe that's going to be a little bit clearer. And obviously he's got quite a nice vantage point there. Now they're called rollers because of their display. They actually tumble in the sky, it's so beautiful. But they've actually got quite a harsh cry when they do it. They're such a beautiful bird, they make quite a noise. Oh, and there's the chegra. Black crowned chegra. It might have a new name, it might be the 3 Street chegra now. But it'll always be the black crowned chegra to me. Gone. again. It is starting to get quite warm now, so I'd be surprised if the leopards are sitting on top of the termite mounds. But they might be sitting in the trees or on the ground. That's one thing that did throw me when I first came to Sabi Sands, that how much time leopards do sleep on the ground. I always had it in my head that they always slept in the trees, off the ground, out of the way from predators, but it doesn't seem to be the case. They do seem to spend quite a substantial amount of time on the ground and sleeping. And they don't always put the kills in the trees. I do remember it was almost as if Karuna would only put it in a tree if she felt it was absolutely necessary, because obviously it's quite a lot of energy wasted to put the kill in the tree. Because you're talking about them taking sometimes a carcass heavier than they are in their jaws and holding it only in their jaws and using their power to climb the tree. It really is quite impressive. So if they don't need to waste that energy, they won't. And unfortunately, there was a couple of occasions she would lose her kill to hyenas, and so did the boys as well. I remember Misha and Duna also losing kills because they didn't put them in the trees. Oh, there's a little steenbok here as well. Let me just check on the inside. There's certainly some more tracks there. I think, oh, there goes the steenbok. I've got hyena on my side. And the reserve that I work on now, we don't see kills in trees at all. And I think that's largely to do with the fact we don't have lions and we don't have spotted hyena, we only have brown hyena. And there seems to be this mutual understanding. The spotties are a little bit more aggressive than their brown cousins. The brown hyenas tend to forage on their own obviously a lot more than what the spotties will do. Spotties can forage alone, or they can forage as a group. And there just seems to be that mutual understanding of strength between the leopard and the brown hyena. Oh, there's our elephant tracks again. Oh. Spotties again. Just the way the sun was shining on it, like it was the leopard. Wow, the spotties were really active last night. We did hear them calling just after we closed down, didn't we? Oh, I'm glad everyone appreciated checking out the old den. I think Nemo is another name that's coming through for the little baby hyena. Just going to check on the time, see if we've got time to head down to the den. Yeah, we should have a bit of time. Check in on the little one. And maybe we pick up our search here this afternoon. We're at Impala Plains now. Let me just go around the corner here, just make sure. I think there was a little pan here. And then we'll turn around and head down to the den. maybe I was mistaken, or maybe the little pan is further up. I thought it was around here somewhere. Okay. I think the elephants have crossed over a little while ago. Let's go into, I think. Of course, this was the area we first had Shavinzi and Shivambalana. The very first sighting of them was around here. And they were about 3 or 4 months old, I seem to remember. And I think it was raining. And little Shavinzi was sitting up in the tree looking very miserable. Okay, so we'll still keep our eyes peeled. There's nothing to suggest the leopard came this way, but you never know. But it could have well have gone into this block here. Well, good morning to you, Siberia. Yeah, great to have you on board with us this morning. And you'd like to know, is it normal to have multiple entrances to the den for a hyena, or is it just usually one? And it depends on the den site. The den we've just visited, there was the 2, and we think they were interconnected by possibly a small tunnel created by the cubs. But it didn't look like it was anywhere big enough for adults to go in, and as I say, the adults don't tend to use those holes. It is for the cubs. Yeah, just the spot is this side. But then the den that's apparently active again, which we actually found, we followed the female to the den site, and we found that she had the 2 cubs there. That only had 1 entrance, but it was a much smaller termite mound. So it seems to depend on the size of the termite mound that they're utilising. The one where we're going to head down to now, hopefully we'll catch up with the little one before we go off air. And that has, by the looks of it, about 3 holes, I think. But again, I'm not sure if they're interconnected. They might just be different chambers. And remember, those holes would most likely have been made by aardvark a long, long time ago, for a meal. And it could be that, especially with the mound being so big, they might have created those multiple entrances try and get at an easy meal each time they came to the termite mound. So they're going from this side, and then the next side they might go in that side. And then over the years, weathered, and the hyenas maybe would have excavated a little bit, and maybe warthogs would have come through and utilised them a little bit. And they've actually done a study, and they found up to 50 species of animals and birds could utilise the old abandoned aardvark holes in termite mounds, or elsewhere for that matter, because aardvarks will actually dig about a 6-metre burrow underground, and the animals can use that as well. There's an ant-eating chat, a small bird about that sort of size, and they'll nest in the entrance to one of these burrows. And I think even porcupine has been observed sharing a burrow with an aardvark. I'm sure jackals and civets would use those abandoned holes as well. Hyenas heading back down. I say it will be interesting to see if baby is out and about, or whether it's taken refuge in the hole where it might be a little bit cooler. But of course, if mum's out and about overnight, baby wouldn't have had any access to milk. And they actually do take quite a long time to be weaned. They may try meat for the first time after 2 or 3 months, but they won't be fully weaned until about 1.5 years, which is quite long. And you consider leopards and lions probably start being weaned also about 2 or 3 months, but probably fully weaned by 6 months. So a much quicker process. So we're just heading down Rebecca's Road now, and we'll pop out just opposite the hyena den. But still having a look, just in case those tracks weren't from the same leopard as we had the tracks here. Because they were further down on Zoe's road, so unless that cat kind of did a loop through here and then came up, which is possible, because as I said, I wasn't convinced those tracks were fresh, like we were on the tail. But they were certainly from a few hours ago. Hear the dwarf mongoose again chirping away. still checking this area. So this is one of the leopard's favourite areas, or it used to be. This pays just to have that double check. So let's go to see if the hyenas are out and about, snoozing around by the den. I hope they are. It's so nice to have a den that's active and just see how baby hyenas grow up in. It's some wonderful moments. See if anyone's around. I'm just checking around here as well, because quite often the adults will sleep somewhere around the den, but not necessarily at the den. Anybody there? As I say, it is quite hot now, so it could be babies inside. Just taking shelter from the heat. If I stop here, we maybe just have a... Can you see the holes through there, or not really? Yeah, so there's two entrances on this side. There's one just to the left behind the bush and just off the centre of your screen, and the other one's just to the right. But it looks like she may be sleeping. I'm just having a scan around just to see if I can't see Mum. Oh, it looks very quiet. It's amazing actually, last night, just before we left, we had, if you remember, there was a sub-adult that was with the adult female, and it came right up to us, and it was almost like 2 or 3 meters away from us, and just lay down there and watched us. What amazing. So we'll see if we can maybe have a swing by this afternoon when it gets a bit cooler. I was thinking it might be a little bit hot, but also it's really nice to check these things out at different times of the day, just to see what is going on. Sometimes you can be wrong, sometimes there is a bit of activity. There's another hole there, but that doesn't look to be used. There's quite a lot of vegetation on there, that hole. Just there, yeah. So I don't think they're using that one at the moment. Oh, there is a lizard. There's a plated lizard. You should be able to see it from where you are. Yeah, there he is. I was looking at it thinking, that looks like a lizard. Nah, it can't be. There you go, plated lizard. And quite often associated with termite mounds. They do tend to eat the termites that are in them. So I wonder, there is a few termite mounds around here which you probably will go and visit. One of the different types of lizard. You can see it almost like rows down the side of his body. But the scales, they don't look smooth like a skink or a snake. They look a little bit rougher. Very cool. I'm thinking maybe in the next 10 minutes we can make it down to Chelapan and just see if anything's around the waterhole there. And just have a quick look. Seems as the hyenas aren't playing ball. Yeah, plated lizard. Oh, welcome on board this morning, Joe. Great to hear from you. And Joe wants to know how cool it is in the termite mound. Well, when the termite mound's active, it can be a comfortable room temperature. And that's all because of the actual mound that you see. What you see above ground is about a third of what is actually below ground. And they do have on a working termite mound, so this one's actually abandoned because otherwise those holes will be blocked up by the termites. That's how we know it's abandoned. And the hyenas would have a hard time. They'd be bitten to death, I think, by the soldiers. So they will defend that nest very aggressively. As I say, if you actually do damage a working termite mound, the workers will come out fairly immediately and come and block up the damage. And if I see a termite mound on our way down to Chelapan with some fresh building work on it, I'll stop and show you the difference. But they'll have little holes, and some of the holes allow the hot air to escape, and it's that escaping hot air that will help to drag in fresh air, and the air will be dragged in through other holes, goes right underground, underneath the nest, into the damp areas of the nest, and the air will be cooled, and then it gets pulled through into the working chambers, and then as obviously it warms up again, it evaporates out. Ingenious, absolutely ingenious. It's at a cool temperature, and some animals will take advantage of this. So the monitor lizards, especially the water monitor, will break open the nest, lay the eggs inside the nest, and the termites will come and hatch it all back up, and then the monitor lizard can leave those eggs and they will be incubated and I believe it's several months short of what they would be if the monitor lizard just buried them. So it actually does help with the incubation process. It speeds it up slightly. And obviously when the baby monitors hatch out, they have a ready-made meal waiting for them. Cheeky but effective. Woodlands. Now it could be the mother is still out and about. Maybe she wandered quite far for food, and it could be that she's lying up somewhere else. So baby will be nicely tucked away inside, and as I say, they'll excavate a little area right at the back of the tunnel so it can go and hide in there, and any larger animals that come sniffing around, even if they smell that it's there, might not be able to get to it. It is also normal to have a babysitter looking after, especially if they're in a communal den, looking after the youngsters. But at this stage, this one doesn't look like it's a communal den. It looks like it's possibly even the birthing den, although they may move them to the den just so that the smell doesn't linger too much. And leopards will do the same as well. They'll move their cubs around from den to den in the first few months, just so that the smell doesn't linger and predators are drawn to that smell. So obviously at that time they're extremely vulnerable. So, in the last few minutes of drive, we're just heading down to Chelapan to see if anybody's around there. I say, just have a little bit more information for this afternoon's drive, just try and work out where the animals might be. So I think we were pretty much alone here this morning. So some of these roads weren't driven, so just to pick up any information about what was going on. Oh yeah. Oh, it turns out somebody is here. Hello boys. I think you've definitely got the right idea. It does feel like it's going to be very hot today, even though we had a huge thunderstorm last night. The temperatures are definitely rising rapidly here in South Africa.